So we did see this mini crash in Bitcoin yesterday. It's treated as a risk-on asset, considered a proxy for liquidity in the markets. At least one technician I've spoken to in the last 24 hours said we're really range-bound here, up to 61,000. What's the next catalyst? What breaks it out?
You know, I think the events of Bitcoin 2024 in Nashville a few weeks ago were just very catalytic and marked an inflection point for Bitcoin. You had presidential candidates, you had governors, you had senators, you had House members, you had CEOs, you had billionaire investors in the audience. Senator Lummis presented a strategic Bitcoin reserve bill, and that's our Louisiana Purchase moment. What happened there was the Overton window shift. Now it's possible to discuss nation states holding Bitcoin on the balance sheet. And if nation states are going to buy it, then it's reasonable for institutions, corporations, and individuals to buy it as well. So that was tremendous. Thomas Jefferson purchased the Louisiana Territory for $15 million in 1803 and nearly double the size of the United States. Seward paid $7 million for Alaska. It's got $1 trillion of oil underneath it. Everybody's going to be doing business in cyberspace. Bitcoin is scarce, desirable digital property. It's a great idea to trade a little bit of currency or paper for some place that billions of people are going to be in 100 years. So, yeah, I think it's a great idea.
I want to talk about Bitcoin. That's where I was going to go with Bitcoin.
No, one thing.
Don't
one
look
thing
at me.
Say,
don't point at me when you're talking.
It's a speculative thing.
Yeah.
And one point is Bitcoin proved once again that it's not a hedge against your assets melting.
Or against money printing, or it's just a speculative asset. It's like a NASDAQ.
It's a speculative asset that seems to, just like, behave, like high-priced real estate in Manhattan, or to track the stock market.
Right. That may be true, but you're losing your ass from when you told me it was useless at 30,000.
I'm saying it's useless doesn't mean, there's a lot of things I didn't invest in.
All right.
A lot of things I didn't invest in that went up.
I want you to short it. Instead of just talking, I want you to short it or buy it. Do one or the other.
That's exactly the kind of false dichotomy that you're causing. I'm telling you, it's an asset that's crazy. Okay, of course, we've got enough crazy people to drive it up.
Do you think what do you think can happen to it long term, though?
I have no idea. First of all, I have no idea. It's a speculative asset. What I'm saying, it's not useful in an economic system to have assets that go from $10 to $60,000. Okay, when we're looking for price stability,
like Netscape, that goes from 800 to 180.
But that there's an underlying company that actually produces something that makes a product.
But on any given day, whatever it's worth is totally ephemeral. You have no idea.
Let me tell you the problem with Bitcoin people. They always
NVIDIA went from $6 to $400.
And it's revolutionizing the world.
Well, who knows whether Bitcoin's doing that or not? There's people that think Bitcoin is doing it. But people that think it is.
How so? It's become a speculative asset. That's what it is. That's the product.
It
is being a speculative asset.
It has a functional use in terms of what constitutes like actual money. It has a
that's exactly what you're getting wrong. It's proving that it can be anything, but it's not a currency. It's not a hedge. All right. So treat it as listen. A lot of people buy paintings.
What are the characteristics of, for example, of gold? It's immutable. It's cross-cultural.
First of all,
it's a limited supply. There's all these different things. It has a lot of those characteristics.
Has a property that Bitcoin doesn't.
What, to make jewelry?
No. Let me. First of all, it has use as jewelry, but there's one property is that if you put it has a gold chain. If you put it on the ground for 10,000 years, it will still be gold. Bitcoin, if the players in Bitcoin,
if you unplug the servers,
you can have it. You can own it. You can still have it. You don't need a server.
No, but the
you can have it in your wallet.
Being maintained. Okay, and this is complicated.
Well, the entire world is based on something being plugged in at this point.
No, but gold isn't. Gold is not.
And gold held its value. It was stable. Up until the hunt, and until of course 73 when
gold is stable. It's worth about what a barrel of it's worth like a suit. It's worth a good suit apparently. Over the years, you can buy a good suit of clothes for whatever gold costs.
But the idea of taking the story of gold and
no, the characteristics. There's about 6 or 7 characteristics that Bitcoin shares with gold. And I mean, when I first...
Our argument is not going to...
In the old days, if you lived on an island, if you did an hour of work and somebody else, and you did one thing and somebody else did another thing, you need a way to keep track of your work. It's a distributed ledger, which does that.
So it looks like
you could use shells, but you can't.
Go anywhere
you have to.
It is.
Well, the world is actually, you're kind of left in the dust. The world is coming around.
How many Bitcoin have you used today to buy your newspaper, your coffee, and
okay, now you're using the use basis. Now you've moved from the
no, I am saying it's proving not to be a currency, and I'm improving, and it doesn't have the same attribute as gold as reserve of value. So maybe something else. I'm not complaining. A lot of people like crazy stuff. Okay,
it's but different. It's not a pet rock, Nassim.
Don't make it a well. It's not.
Well, in hindsight, we'll see. Because you've up to this point, you don't admit that you've miscalculated on Bitcoin. You still think you're right. I know people who hated it at 5,000 that still think they're right, and they'll go to their graves thinking.
Let me tell you, I myself told you about 3 or 4 visits.
Is it going to zero?
No. I myself told you.
Because it should, based on what you're saying,
it should go to $1 million. It will still be a speculative item.
That's brave. That's brave for you to say. Then short it.
Okay.
Short it if it's going to zero. Buy if it's going.
We got to run. This is a debate that will continue, as we know. Nassim, thank you for coming in.
Welcome to the Crypto Teacher. And you know I come back with that video just to make you think.
Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel.
And make sure you're joining the Patrons. If you're not a part of the Patrons, make sure you're in the Cash App. And also make sure you go and follow and like the TikTok. Doing new videos today. Now we have Michael Saylor always talking about cyberspace.
And the reason why is because the sheep is going inside the metaverse.
We know in the metaverse they're already employing people. They already have property. Michael Saylor is a paid puppet just like Trump. They know the goal of the NWO. Remember, the Most High tells you to populate the earth. We know what the devil wants to do, and that's to depopulate. The opposite. Whatever the Most High wants, the devil wants the opposite. And remember, the Crypto Teacher told you. And the climate agenda is about taking carbon out of the air. Guys, when carbon is at its highest, life form is at its highest. And we have Nassim Taleb playing the Hegelian dialectic when it comes to Bitcoin. And the average person, if you're watching this, you're going to be confused. It's going to make you undecisive because you don't know about the 4th Industrial Revolution.
We moving over to the machine takeover. And remember the king told you.
Where the robots, algorithms, and drones take the economy over, pay each other with crypto and not a human involved. That's the reason why Bitcoin is worth so much. Remember, it was the central banks building a narrative on Bitcoin, getting rid of the banks, but really the big banks and central banks were behind these digital assets from the beginning. Only thing you have to do is follow the money.
And we have the Black Swan coming.
And yesterday's flash crash is just the beginning. Guys, we know that was nothing but an algorithm. And it all came from Japan. I gave you the warning, guys. I told you what was going to happen. And I think Japan only moved up like 15 basis points. Yes, guys, you're hearing that correct. Only 15 basis points caused a rumble in the global economy. And we know it all came from the Fed. All this money printing and our government allowing them to do all this money printing and gave the people a few thousand. And if you take anything from the government, they're going to take 100 times back. And we're feeling it right now with inflation. They got the money 100 times over, and now they're going to take the jobs for good.
The small and medium-sized banks are crumbling, and small companies are crumbling, and that equals no jobs.
And we know the NWO causes the problem, wait for the reaction, and run in with the solution. The solution they've had for decades, and that's the machines along with these digital assets and these supercomputers. The supercomputers haven't even bought into the equation. because you're not going to be able to trust your ears or your eyesight. Remember, the eyes and ears are the window to the soul. So be careful what you put in them. This crash was a warning sign for you to get yourselves together. Get in the lab and get prepared. And remember, the crypto teacher told you, because he knows when it comes to the NWO, it's all planned out. You have a wonderful day.
I think we're all trying to understand whether what we saw yesterday was the beginning of a black swan or not.
Okay, so first, yesterday, I got this call from my long-term business partner, Mark Spitznagel, 25 years of working with tail events. He said, "This black swan?" And I was, first of all, the probability of not having a down 3% day, okay, the probability of not having one is
So
what
this
you
is
got to
nothing
consider.
to you.
1.3% of the time, and almost most years, the majority of years, have a 3% down.
Right.
So it's
But
not.
the-
It's,
combined
what
with-
is the black swan? What's the
Combined
black
with
swan?
last week and the Nikkei, though. The Nikkei down 12.
The Nikkei is a different situation, and let's talk about it separately. But let me finish there. So what's the black swan? A very large, impactful deviation that was not large nor particularly impactful, and two, completely outside the realm of expectation. This is the absence of of the 3% or more drop in a
Well,
two-year period is a black swan.
What does this portend in your mind? And are you anxious at all, or should we be worried? I think there's a lot of questions about
we
whether
have to
the
be
Fed's going
worried
to have to
about a
act.
bunch of things. We have to be worried, but and now let's talk about the Nikkei. We have Japan. They did zero interest rate policy, near zero interest rate, policy, and then they had the quantitative easing. 23 years quantitative easing, 30 years of near zero interest rates. Okay, and a lot of people who thought that this method, all right, would help things, stabilize, thought they were vindicated.
Right.
And now we realize that once you raise rates, you got to pay back for all your sins.
The die is cast.
30 years of sins,
Yep.
you got to pay for. So really, I mean, there's no such thing as free money.
Yeah.
You cannot cure a structural problem with a monetary policy no more than you can cure cancer with a painkiller.
What's when the last 3 days? What have you said? Oh my God, I need to talk about this with Joe and Andrew. Anything?
Market function yesterday.
It wasn't great, was it?
No, I think.
But it worked.
I think it worked, and given that you had clearly a ton of forced selling, people were selling because they
Margin
had to,
calls.
because they had margin calls, because they had to fund things. And with that, globally, the market functioned well. I think that is good news. What else is good news? Our GSIBs, what we worried about in 2008 and the like. Clearly this was nothing to them. They can handle market volatility like this. You talk to the largest banks. This was not a problem for them. So those are very good things. One thing that we're hearing this morning, on this program, is the Fed. People are saying, what should the Fed be doing? My takeaway is, thank goodness we have an independent Fed, right? You have all of these different pushes and pulls and the like, and in a political season, we're less than 100 days away from an election. I think what you're seeing.
Why have even the possibility of it not being independent? And we were just talking about that. Why not have a Taylor rule? Why not have a rules-based Fed instead of someone who could be swayed, someone who flies by the seat of the pants? We had someone thinks, Greenspan was this, Volcker was this, Janet Yellen was this, Bernanke was this. It wouldn't have to be dependent on one person leading 11 or 12 other people around. Why not rules?
Well, I don't think it's one person. I think Chair Powell.
It's a consensus thing, but
does a pretty good job of building
along,
consensus.
typically.
But maybe they follow along because they find a good spot. But why not have a rule?
Yeah.
Because the world changes. The financial world is very complex. I mean, why have a rule when you have what I would say is disciplined fiscal spending, and now I'm going out on a limb, as opposed to profligate fiscal spending? That's probably
And look what happened.
That's probably a different context.
They stayed
right?
at zero and completely enabled the fiscal spending.
But now they've responded.
Yeah, and we're in the middle of responding, and we don't know how it's going to.
I'm going to defend the Fed here.
Okay.
We're all looking to the Fed to deal with this situation with the very blunt tool of interest rates.
Right.
When we have unprecedented fiscal spending, right? We have unprecedented supply shocks. We have volatility around the world. We have Europe, which is...
Do you think we would have had unprecedented fiscal spending if they had... That's not their place. Their place is whatever Congress does, they fund it. They shouldn't try to cut off the spigot.
I think that, unfortunately, they're in reactionary mode as it goes to fiscal spending. That's where they've always been. That's how you stay independent.
Can we try...
Going to a different economy, and we're going to be learning more about that as we go, but clearly... We're learning that things can be done from remote locations. We're learning that technology can replace people even more than we thought.
We're not going back to the same economy. We're recovering, but to a different economy, and it'll be one that is more leveraged to technology. And I worry that is going to make it even more difficult than it was for many workers.
In Silicon Valley, and my friends who work in technology know that what we did to the manufacturing workers, we are now going to do to the retail workers, the call center workers, the fast food workers, the truck drivers, and then even bookkeepers, accountants, insurance agents, lawyers, and on through the economy. So what happened to the manufacturing workers is a very clear sign.
And so we'll import Chinese-based CBDC technology. So it's going to be CBDC in a box provided to you by the People's Bank of China.
But every stock, every bond, every currency, every commodity, every piece of art, every private business, every piece of real estate will eventually be a token on a blockchain, an entry on a ledger, permanent and immutable. We will have truth instead of trust, and we will save over $7 trillion a year. 6 to 8% of global GDP is wasted by the friction of the trust industry that's necessary when you have dual entry accounting. With triple entry accounting, which is what a blockchain is, we get rid of all of that friction. It's a beautiful future.
Like what you see in China and their social credit scoring systems, right? If we get identity wrong, it could be a tool to enslave humanity. And if we get it right, it could be a tool to liberate humanity. And as an American, I'm obviously rooting for the one that's on the side of freedom.
Bitcoin is an international asset. And also, I do believe the role of crypto is, it's digitizing gold.
I actually believe this technology is going to be very important. Look at it. We have been part of the huge revolution in investing through ETFs. We believe that ETFs will be changing the whole way we invest. Many people still use it as a means, people are investing it for indexing. No, the majority of people who are putting money in in ETFs are active investors that are buying exposure. The entire bond market is being transformed as we talk right now. I believe the next generation for markets, the next generation for securities will be tokenization of securities. And if we can have that distributed ledger that we know every beneficial owner, every beneficial seller, we all have our code of who's buying, who's selling, instantaneous settlement. And think about it, it changes the whole ecosystem.
Chinese bank ICBC has been hit by a ransomware attack, and the U.S. Treasury market, as a result of that, has been disrupted. This, according to the Financial Times. We're getting it more right now with Bloomberg's Shonali Bassick. Shonali, what do we know?
Listen, we have the Financial Times now reporting that ICBC, one of China's largest banks here, was hit with a ransomware attack. And remember, they're a very significant intermediary in the Treasury market. The SIFMA has told its members that this has been part of the reason here that the system is kind of clogged up, if you will, during that auction that we saw a little bit before. The attack had prevented ICBC, according to the Financial Times, from settling Treasury trades on behalf of other market participants. A large executive at a major bank also telling the paper that such a large party on the fixed income clearing corp creates major concerns, potentially impacting the liquidity of Treasury markets.
Now, it was not just the poor auction. it was absolutely lousy. And you know, when the dealers have to step in to save a treasury auction, that's a rare occurrence. And
Cryptoteacher and the new World Order book, plus the 3 kids books, is time to re-educate. Also, new to cryptos, Coinbase, Bitrue, Binance. Do not forget book links and crypto links are in the description. The stock channel, guys. Don't forget to go like, subscribe, spread everywhere. You have your Kobo, your chip stocks, your banking, your gaming. While everybody's sitting at home, get home stocks, the Seaver, the biotech stocks. And while everybody's at home wishing they were still getting that free money, what are they doing? Drinking and smoking weed. Don't forget about those stocks, and you have a wonderful day. The most powerful person in the world is the storyteller. The storyteller sets the vision, values, and agenda of an entire generation to come. Steve Jobs. And guys, you know I truly believe in this. When you look at the New World Order, they're the storytellers. And that's the reason why I wrote my New World Order book. But guys, now it's time to change the current generation. And I wrote 3 kids books. You know, I love the Trinity because I understand the power that's in it. So I have 3 books. We have an opportunity to change the generation, to educate, not just me, but I want to show you that I take action on a daily basis. And I want you to take action on a daily basis. Whether it's your job, whether it's in your community, we have an opportunity right now to educate the masses. I posted this on my Twitter account. Please share, but this is a short clip of the 3 books. There's going to be a clothing line and action figures. Please get these books for your kids, nephews, cousins, friends, so therefore we can start the re-education now. Because as we see, the 4th Industrial Revolution foundation is definitely here. Robots, algorithms, drones, taking humanity out the picture. We have to re-educate. But let's get into the video.
Part 1. King Joshua and Grandma Tam save the village. Part 2. King Joshua and Grandma Tam save New York. From COVID Stories 3. Part 3. King Joshua and Grandma Tam goes to China.
It's mandatory to get part 1, part 2, and part 3 of this series. It's time to re-educate Generation Z.